Zoom meeting today. And on the info line where I work, we get a lot of people bringing in issues to do with constipation. It's very important to manage constipation well, to manage the symptoms and have some good quality of life. So we'll have some questions at the end, but I will read now the little spiel about constipation. So constipation is the infrequent passage of hard, dry bowel motions which are difficult to pass. It's a common problem in Parkinson's and can predate the diagnosis. It can also reduce the quality of life for people with Parkinson's. It's problematic due to the slow movement of the muscles of the gastro-intestinal tract, which is controlled by the autonomic nervous system, which means it's not under your control, your conscious control. It happens anyway. It's often responsible. So the autonomic nervous system is responsible for the function of the smooth muscle in the gastrointestinal tract. Constipation occurs due to the slowness of the muscles of the bowel, moving the food products from the stomach along the small bowel to the large bowel and on to excretion. Research shows that Parkinson's can affect the nerves that line the gastrointestinal tract, and the same brain changes that cause stiffness and slowness also affect the muscles in the gastrointestinal tract. And that's why swallowing and the passage of food along the gastrointestinal tract is slowed down. The slower the transit time, the more water is absorbed from the waste products and the harder the stools become and the more difficult they are to pass. Now, the reasons why constipation is problematic, particularly for people with Parkinson's, is one is medication. So slow gastric emptying makes it more difficult for the medication to get to the top of the small intestine where it's best absorbed. Many of the medications which are used to treat Parkinson's can also cause constipation. Antacids that are used sometimes for people who have gastric reflux also increase the risk of constipation. Diet affected. Swallowing issues and chewing problems make it difficult for many people with Parkinson's to ensure that a healthy diet's maintained. Very important is hydration. It's essential to maintain a good fluid intake to maintain bowel health. Many people with Parkinson's tend to reduce their fluid intake so they don't have to rush to the bathroom, but that has a real impact on the risk of constipation. Exercise is also impacted if you're constipated, and good exercise regime helps to maintain overall health and well-being. Good toileting habits, a good routine, and don't avoid the urge to have your bowels opened. You know, you need to follow whatever your body's telling you. If constipation is left untreated, it can lead to many serious problems, which may include poor symptom management, because the medications can't reach the area of the intestine where they are best absorbed. Nausea and a reduction in appetite and fluid intake increases the problem. Lethargy and discomfort reduce exercise and again increase the problem. Now, bladder involvement, as the constipated bowel can place pressure on the bladder that causes it can cause urinary incontinence, but it can also prevent the bladder from completely emptying, which means you retain some urine, and that increases the risk of developing urinary tract infections. And you know how nasty urinary tract infections are for everyone. The worst case scenario can really be a bowel obstruction. If constipation isn't dealt with and left, that's what can actually happen. That is a medical emergency and it must be treated as such. If you ignore that and it just carries on, it can prove to be fatal. Now, there are 4 steps to prevent and manage constipation. One is to eat well. That's a healthy diet rich in dietary fibre, managed by eating fruit, veggies, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. Very, very important is to drink sufficient fluid. Water is best. It's best to limit the amount of alcoholic drinks, energy drinks, tea, coffee, fizzy drinks, because they're often high in caffeine, but they also act as a bladder irritant, so that the fluid that you're taking in that coffee and fizzy drinks, alcohol, it irritates the bladder, and the fluids is pulled out of the body before it's able to be absorbed and utilised in the managing of constipation. Good regular exercise for 30 minutes per day plays a significant role in managing constipation. Varied exercise is great, but walking is, fantastic. Practicing good toileting habits. Go to the toilet as soon as you feel the urge, as this is the most effective time to empty the bowel, to well empty the bowel. Sit on the toilet with your elbows on your knees, leaning forward and supporting your feet. Relax your tummy. Breathe naturally, draw up your anal muscles when your bowel action is complete. Straining, you don't want to have people straining, that can really be impactful. Now, laxatives are useful, of course. They help to soften the stools and make them easier to pass. They're not the first step in managing constipation, but they have a very important role because constipation is so problematic for people with Parkinson's. Caloxyl, Movicol, Senecot, Agarol are useful laxatives and can be used regularly to manage constipation. Warm drinks in the morning, including the prune juice, can also aid in the management of constipation. And sometimes what works for a while might need to be changed around a bit to manage, your body does tend to get used to things, so you may need to change those laxatives around if you need to use them to improve your management of constipation. Now, whilst constipation is common in people with Parkinson's, it should never be ignored or dismissed as a trivial problem. Good bowel management is necessary for quality of life and needs to be managed every single day. People don't really want to talk about it, but it's really a big deal for people, particularly people with Parkinson's. So we need to be onto it. Thank you.